Alrighty. Hello, everyone. I am Alicia Joao, the Marketing Coordinator for Krannich Solar West team. On behalf of the entire Krannich Solar USA team, it is a great pleasure and gratitude that we extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you joining us today for the Commercial Solar Live webinar discussing introductions, new products, and technological advances from Enphase this upcoming year. Your presence here underscores your shared commitment to advancing the forefront of solar technology and driving the transition towards a more sustainable future for not only residential solar business, but commercial solar advances as well. Today, we have some of the regional experts from Enphase team with us here to introduce you all to the newest product additions and walk you through their trusted services and expertise. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and pass along to their team to introduce themselves and get their presentation started. So Bob, whenever you're ready, go ahead and take it away.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Alicia. And good morning to everyone out there on the West Coast, and good afternoon to those of us on the East Coast like myself. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Bob Montanaro. I'm Regional Sales Manager for C&I for the Eastern US. So if you take a look at that picture in the lower right corner, the area in red from Florida up to northern Canada, out as far west as the Dakotas is, where I represent. I'm based in Jacksonville, Florida. I've been in solar for 14 years, 2 years with Enphase, 3 years with LG prior to that, and then 8 years with another inverter company working on the commercial sector. So everything I've done in my solar career has been commercial focused. We have a brand new product at Enphase that's out. It's UL1741SB listed and readily available at our distributors like Krannich. So if you want this product, it's out today. I'll have my contact information available for everyone, and I'm going to do most of the talking today. But let me introduce the rest of the team. I'm one of 3 for the region, so we've got a red, blue, and green region. So let me go on to the next slide for the Western manager, and I'll let Brad introduce himself.
Yeah, as Bob said, I'm representing all the portion of the U.S. in green, obviously Canada as well on the west coast. My background includes having worked at ChargePoint, so a little bit more EVSE focused, and then most recently helping out with the Clipper Creek acquisition that Enphase did about 2 years ago now, and with the launch of this new 208 3-phase microinverter, I am helping with all of your questions, and I appreciate you being on today to learn more about this product.
Thanks, Brad. Also, we have Christoph Heinzer. Christoph, I'm not sure if Christoph's in the with us right now. He's at a show in Colorado, but I'm just going to pause for a moment. Okay, I don't think Christoph is with us. That's okay, but Christoph is our Midwest manager. He's based in Tucson, Arizona. He's in the area in blue. He's been with Enphase for 5 years, really focused on commercial with the commercial team, so he can answer any of your questions if you're in that blue region. With that said, let's get on to the product. Most of you, or some of you, are probably residential installers, very familiar with Enphase, I would assume. If you've been hesitant in getting into commercial work, due to the complexities of commercial work, we're there for you to make it easier. So, as the slide says, commercial jobs can be more of a hassle than what they're worth, but we're going to change that with this new product. And we also have plenty of services. So the market is headed in this direction. There's massive market potential for C&I. 4.5% of all commercial buildings in the US have solar. So, 600,000 sites, there's a huge future in C&I, and we're here to help you get that business. And we do have some solutions to talk about to help you with that, to make it easier. We offer design services, we offer commissioning services, we offer solar graph services to help you do pricing proposals. So just want to get briefly into each one of these services. Also, before I get too ahead of myself, if there are questions, if you could put them in the chat box, we'll try to answer them. I'm going to try to move along, with a pretty good flow, and I'm planning to take questions at the end of the presentation too. But if you do have questions that come up, please enter them in the chat box or write them down and save them for the end. So as I said, we do have these services for everyone. We're there to support all of our stakeholders. We consider our homeowners and business owners to be partners. Our installers are partners too. So we're all working together to grow business, to grow your business, and help you get more business from using Enphase. So our commercial energy system and installer platform is the most efficient way to bring solar to commercial buildings. It's smart and simple and built for scale, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it. First, SolarGraph. SolarGraph is a proposal and system sizing tool. We have a whole team available for SolarGraph that will help you work to prepare proposals and designs so that you can win work. It's got downloadable, accurate, and detailed BOMs that you'll get from it. So you can, go from an aerial presentation or an aerial view to a system design and also a proposal for your customer. So we're there to get you started with SolarGraph. So you basically get an all-in-one software. So it's got a design and proposal software, on-demand proposal services with 24/7 support, and on-demand permit services. So we can get you permitted in all 50 states too, and also get you PE stamps. So depending on what you need, we can get you from the design and proposal phase to final design and construction documents. So keep us in mind for that. And at the end of this presentation, or afterwards, I'll be happy to go into more detail and get you connected with the people that you need to speak to for more detail. As far as design services are concerned, we usually do a turnaround within 48 hours. So if you bring your system into Enphase, your project, our team will work and get you design plans within 48 hours. And as I mentioned before, at the request, we can do PE review and stamps also, so that you can get your permit applications completed. We will also be able to provide as-built drawings too after the project is done. So once that's done, we can get you as-builts certified too. There's many different permit offerings that we can do, and it's all price, it's all priced to what you need. So again, here's some information on each of them. I'm not going to go through each and every single one of them, but I can tell you that we do have a dedicated team of engineers that will work with you to get you what you need to get your project permitted and to get you up and running into construction. So keep us in mind for permitting services. We also, when your project is finished, we do offer white glove service too. So if you're a new installer with a project, we can provide our white glove team to review your plans before you begin construction, confirm that each of the components in those plans is correct, ensure that best practices are followed during construction, and really we're there to help you avoid making mistakes and getting it right the first time. So again, we're there to help you win more business. White glove service is a function that we offer when you get into the construction phase. We're there to help you and to keep you moving forward so that it makes it easy, and we'll get you up and running as quickly as possible without mistake. So keep us in mind. We've got your back. We also have a new plan, which is commercial financing through Bank of Montreal. If you do have commercial projects that are out there, we have Bank of Montreal that runs through SolarGraph. So if you are a SolarGraph user and you do have a commercial project that does need financing, we can actually do that for you too via Bank of Montreal. Again, there's a few rules on which businesses qualify. There are a few businesses that do not qualify. but most do. And you know, for that, we can get you more information on financing with Bank of Montreal to get your commercial project financed and move you into the construction quicker. Reliability you can count on is with Enphase. One thing that I do like to talk about with Enphase that's different than any other company that I've worked for or any other company that's out there is our defect rate. So when you do buy an Enphase inverter or Enphase microinverter, we're there to ensure that your project will work and keep running for life. So as you see in the lower left-hand corner, we have a 25-year warranty on our products, on our microinverter products. We're there to make sure that that product works within 25 years. So our failure rate is 1 in 2,000. And if you take a look at this grid on the right side, 1 in 2,000 failure rate, that's a nice little marketing picture of what a 1 in 2,000 failure rate looks like with the little X in the middle of the grid. You know, 1 out of 2,000 micros not working for any given batch. But really, what does it really mean? You know, it means that you're getting peace of mind that your site will be up and operating. You're not going to lose a 50 kilowatt string inverter or 25 kilowatt string inverter. You're going to lose 1 panel in 2,000. So, you know, what does that really mean? If you have a 25 kW site, that's approximately 50 inverters. 49 out of 50 inverters still work. So you're up 98% on a 25 kW site. And that's for life, for 25 years. So even if you're unlucky and you have that 1 in 2,000 inverter that's not working, you still have 49 out of 50 inverters working. It's a really simple fix to replace an inverter. They weigh about 4 pounds. And it's all AC wiring, so it's a really quick fix. But the good news is you didn't lose a 25 kW string inverter. You didn't lose your whole site. You're still operating at 98%, so it's not even an emergency to replace it. I mean, you could look at it as a 50 kW site. You've got 99 out of 100 inverters working, 99%. 100 kW site, 199 out of 200 microinverters working, 99.5%. I mean, we can keep looking at it all up the way. 200 kW, 99.75. If you have a 1 megawatt rooftop, you lose 1 inverter, 1 out of 2,000. You're operating at 99.95%. Virtually all of these are just about 100% running. So I guess my point is with Enphase, very low failure rate and 0 downtime. You're not losing large swaths of solar field or solar rooftop. You're losing 1 panel, and that's really what it's all about. I do see a question. I'll leave that to the end. Better safety. So the other thing about Enphase is that we are a fully AC system. So there's no 1,000-volt DC. Rapid shutdown is built into the microinverters. It's converted to 208-volt AC right away at the panel level. We're not dealing with 1,000-volt DC wire boxes. We're having to work with any sort of loose gaskets into those wire boxes that could possibly short out. You don't need specialized electricians that work with DC power. It's all AC, much like the electricity that runs in your house or business. If there is an issue and there's a loss of phase, it shuts down in accordance with UL 1741 SB, which is the highest level of shutdown. That's New York State, Hawaii, California. We are in that, we're compliant with that code. You're avoiding arc fault fires and built to withstand extreme weather. And when we get into the product itself, I'll go into a little bit more detail about how the product is built. But what I can tell you about the product before we begin is that there's no moving parts, no fans, they're fully insulated, and NEMA 6 enclosure. So it's a waterproof system that does not need to breathe. It does not need any fans to cool them down. So it's built to withstand any outside issues, any weather issues. And that, of course, brings safety to mind. savings you can count on. So, you know, we kind of touched this on reliability. Besides the 1 in 2,000 failure rate, we're also maximizing your energy production. These microinverters work 1-to-1, so it's one microinverter to one module. So there's no single point of failure. You're not losing a string. If a module is soiled or broken, you're not dragging down the power of a string. So there's no single point of failure. You're getting minimized impacts of shade. So, you know, again, as I said, shade or soiling, you're not dragging down the string. Because it's a microinverter, it only takes 22 volts to start up the microinverter. So it's going to start up earlier in the morning and stay on later during the day, which is going to give you continued higher production as the system ages. So that's, we're maximizing solar production because it is a microinverter system. Lower maintenance and operation costs. One of the greatest things about Enphase is that because they're microinverters at 1-to-1, you are getting module level monitoring, and monitoring is built into the price and built into it's part of the system for life. So you're getting Enphase Enlighten monitoring for the life of the system. So if there is a problem on site, you'll know exactly where it is on the rooftop. You'll know exactly which module is not functioning. You can call our support team remotely from your desk or from your mobile device. You know, when you see this on the monitor, our support team works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and usually will answer your call within a minute or less. Most of these problems can be resolved over the phone with our customer service team, but if there is a problem and it does require an RMA, you can actually, you know, do that through your Enphase app and get your replacement part out to the site. For commercial, we do have Fleet Manager. So, you know, if you do have a site that is multiple buildings, let's say schools in a school district or franchises, we can manage those all on the same page so that you can actually see how the fleet of products or that fleet is doing for your commercial project. And I'll get into more detail on that in a couple of slides. Actually, I'll get into it now. So we just talked about Fleet Manager. Fleet Manager is a no-cost part of our monitoring system. As I had mentioned before, if you do, an example would be school districts. If you have schools in a school district, you can manage all of those schools on the same page. Okay, and as I said, schools in a school district are one example, hotels in a hotel chain, coffee shops as part of a franchise, those sort of things. You can put all of these things into a fleet, and you can monitor all of those systems on the same page. And again, if you want more information on Fleet Manager, I can get you more information on that, and we have another presentation on that. We also do have Kiosk View, which is another at no cost add-on. Kiosk View, basically Kiosk View, if you wanted to set up a graphical presentation of your site, let's say you wanted to have a display of the PV generation in the lobby for visitors, we can set up Kiosk View for you. Kiosk View, you'll be able to add photos of the site, company logos, school district logos, your installation company. It's just a customized view to make an attractive scrolling display for, you know, visitors in a lobby, or you can use them as a marketing opportunity on your website too. It's a really nice way to show production and you know, make the solar generation you know, exciting for people to see. And again, these are no cost add-ons. Now for the good part, let's talk about the hardware itself. The micros themselves, the IQ8H and 8P 3P series. 3P stands for three-phase. These are our two inverters that work, our two microinverters that work for three-phase operation only. They're built on the same IQ8 ASIC that our residential micros are built on. They're basically the same size and same shape. Actually, I do have one here at my desk. Let me see if I can turn my computer, my video screen on and not actually blow up my screen. I have one right here in front of me. This is a 3P series micro. So as you can see, it's pretty nice and light, easy to manage. Very similar to our residential models. The difference is this output, which is a QD cable 4-pin output, versus our residential inverters, which has a 2-pin Q cable. Other than that, on the DC side right here, we have an MC4 adapter that fits onto this to connect into your module. So hopefully I didn't blow up the presentation. Let me turn off my camera. Can everyone see this? Alicia, can you confirm that this is up on the screen?
Yes, you're good to go.
Okay, good. Excellent. So that's the show and tell for the day with the micro. They're both the same size. They weigh about 4 pounds. They're about the size of an old video cassette tape, I guess. Pretty easy to handle. If you do need a replacement and bring it up to the roof, you can carry it up the elevator or a ladder really easy. It's not a 150-pound string inverter. We did talk a little bit about microinverters versus string inverters and why you would want to use them on a roof. I've got a listing of all kinds of things. One of the things that's nice, I would like to point out a few things. First off, we have a 25-year warranty with our microinverters where the competition is 10 or 15 years. So if you do have a PPA that is 25 years, you have to figure out what to do after year 10. Do you purchase an extended warranty? Do you replace the replace the inverters? With us, we have you for the whole life of the system, 25-year warranty. The other thing that I'd like to point out here on the screen is that there's no single point of failure. You know, I'd mentioned that before. If a microinverter fails or a module fails for some reason, let's say there's hail and the module gets damaged, all of the other modules are not brought down in that string. So everything is still operating at 100%. So that's one of the great things about microinverters versus string inverters. The other thing that's not on this list is you don't have to fit yourself into a 25 kW box or a 50 kW box or a 17.3 kW box. You can put as many string inverters on the roof as you need to, or as little as you need to. So if you have a site that can fit 37 modules on one site, 43 modules on another site, you don't have to worry about having even strings or anything like that. So again, you're not stuck in a 25 kW box, if you will. We do have rapid shutdown built into the microinverter, so there's no need for optimizers. So it's all one piece. So if you do have sites, which most are in the country, if you have sites that require rapid shutdown, we've got you covered. If you don't have sites that require rapid shutdown, let's say you have this new UL listing that people are talking about that bring you back to the old NEC 2014 code where you need a shutdown within 1 foot of the solar field. Hey, that's great. You don't need optimizers anymore, but guess what? You don't have that safety. If there is a problem, you have one shutdown within 1 foot of the system and you still have a fully live solar field at 1000 volt DC that, emergency service crews have to deal around. With Enphase, you've got rapid shutdown built in at each inverter. As I mentioned, the warranty. One other thing that I would like to mention is the design of the inverter itself, the string inverter. This is a polymeric NEMA 6 casing, so it is corrosion proof. Going back one slide, if you take a look at this, it's a polymeric plastic case. If you have installations that are in environments that are near salt water, where you're worried about rusting, we've got you covered. This is a fully potted, fully sealed device that does not have any fans in it. It's waterproof. Basically, if you connect this up on the MC4 side and the QD cable side, you could drop it into a bucket of water and still have it operate. So you're not worried about corrosion resistance. You're not worried about water infiltration with this device. If you have sites that are near the seashore, sites in a wastewater treatment plant, highly corrosive environments, we've got you covered with this product. So it's another little nice advantage with Enphase. With that in mind, I want to talk about the design and installation of Enphase. I do have a picture of how these work. I'm going to try not to get too technical, and again, at the end of the presentation, I'll be happy to go into this in a little bit more detail. As I had mentioned before, this is a 1 micro per 1 module system. So each module has a microinverter connected to it that will convert DC power to AC power. The micros themselves are connected through a series of QD cable. The QD cable itself rotates phase. So when you connect an inverter together, inverter 1 will connect to an adapter that will connect you to the first line of the 3-phase system, the second inverter, line 2, third inverter, line 3, fourth inverter, line 1, fifth inverter, line 2, and so on and so forth. So the cable does all of the automated phase balancing for you and provides 3-phase 208 volt native output. These are brought into 20 amp branch circuits. So we're going to set them up as either a system of 12 microinverters if you're using the P model, or 15 microinverters using the H model, running them into a 20 amp 3-phase breaker, which will go into a 3-phase combiner shown here on the roof. It could be either roof mounted or near the service panel. This 3-phase load center or combiner is just a standard 3-phase breaker box. It's not a Shoals box or a Solar Boss box. Again, we're talking AC power, so it's a pretty standard device. Once you get that connected, once you get these branch circuits connected into the combiner, you'll connect up the the commercial gateway, which is also known, or the old word for it is Envoy, if you guys are familiar with that. This gateway has production CTs that get connected into the combiner. On the output end of it, the gateway will connect to the internet via wired connection or wireless connection. Just needs to get to the internet. Once that happens, it's like any other Enphase installation. You can use your installer app to get all of the inverters scanned in. This comes into our Enphase portal, and it's business as usual. You'll see everything. Your site will be up and running. You'll see everything online. The one difference is there's a commercial drop-down versus a residential drop-down. But other than that, it's like any other residential install. So if you've installed Enphase on residential, you'll know how to install Enphase on a commercial site. And I will say on the Enphase University, for those residential installers, we do have a 1 hour and 8-minute certification course for Enphase Commercial on our Enphase University site too. And I recommend all of you take that. Just talking about the IQ8-3P and IQ8-3P, they are both 208 volt native, 208 volt 3-phase native output. They only work on 3-phase applications. So if you have a 208 volt site, you can connect right up. We can also work on a 480 volt site, but you'll need to have a step down transformer that brings it to 208 volt to make that work. As far as the two inverters are concerned, they're the same size and weight. The differences are the IQ8-3P has a 384 watt output, can be connected to modules as high as 575 watts. The IQ8-P3P has a 480 watt output, can be connected to modules as high as 720 watts. The good news about these micros are that we can connect to just about every commercial M10 or M12 up to 144 or 156 cell module that's out there now. So where we were limited with IQ7 Plus in the past to a 440 watt module, we can now handle all of the larger modules that are out there. So if you have a commercial job and you want to use a 650 watt module, we've got you covered. Just speaking about Enphase, IQ8H and IQ8P for three-phase operations, I'm just going to go over what we had talked about before. Again, if you have a 208 volt project, it's pretty simple. We can connect right up to that project. 480 volt, you'll need a step-down transformer. As I had mentioned, corrosion-resistant polymeric enclosure with a design life of 25 years. Again, they don't rust, they don't need to breathe, there's no moving parts, no fans, fully potted. Another nice thing about Enphase, they don't start derating until 65 degrees centigrade and will operate between 65 and 85 degrees centigrade. That's like around 150 degrees Fahrenheit to around 190 degrees Fahrenheit. So made to work in really harsh conditions for 25 years. And that's not stopping operation, that's just derating. So they're made to plow through. As I mentioned, these are compatible with a wide range of PV modules. So again, those M10 and M12 cell modules. Phase balance is built in. So if any of you have done projects with the old IQ7 Plus where you had to install like 3 single phase projects on each line of the 3-phase, and then make sure that you balanced out your lines, with 10 micros on each line, 12 micros on each line, don't have to do that anymore with this system. It's automatically phase balanced through the QD cable. Phase rotation is done through the QD cable. And also as an added bonus, there's no need for a network protection relay. Phase sensing is done at the microinverter level, and phase shutdown, if there's a loss of phase, is done at the microinverter level. And as I had mentioned before, that is to UL 1741 SB standards. So we've got you covered there. It's just a much simpler design and installation now with the new 3-piece series. I had already talked about the QD cable system. It's a dedicated 3-phase QD cable system. No 1000 volt DC, so again, this is all AC power. So you can use a standard electrician. You do not need a specialized electrician with specialized safety gear. With Enphase, everything is running in 208 volt AC. So it's nice and safe and easy to work with. Simplified troubleshooting, I'd mentioned that before. You're getting monitoring to the module level. So if there's any problem there in the field, you'll be able to see it on your desktop or on your phone. Pinpoint it to the module of where the problem is. And as I had mentioned, these problems, most of them can be resolved with a phone call to our customer service team. 25-year warranty goes without saying. And again, if you want more information, we'll have our contact information readily available for you, or you can email commercialsales@enphaseenergy.com. Just a little bit more detail on the system components. So if any of you are familiar with Enphase for residential, there are slightly different components for this. Instead of Q cable, it's QD cable. So you can see the QD cable itself. Most of the prefixes on these are QD instead of Q. So AC connectors for QD cable. We've got QD terminator caps, QD term, QD seal versus Q. But these are just some pictures of the different parts. QD disconnect tool for the 4-pin QD connector. Production CTs, as I mentioned, you do get production CTs with the gateway. Those are 400 amp and they are ANSI C1220 compliant. So you are getting revenue grade monitoring as part of the system too. And then I do want to talk a little bit more about the QD cable, the cable drops themselves. The cable drops are 12 AWG conductors. As I had mentioned, for the 3P series, you can do branch circuits of 12. So as you can see here, here are your cable connectors right here, 6 and 6, and then they are center tapped in between. So we do center tap these lines. So the AC branch circuits are center tapped to eliminate voltage drop. If you had a series, if you're using the H, you can do strings of 15. So again, you cap off one of the center taps and then do a center tap connection between 6 and 9 for a 15 branch circuit. So that's kind of how they work. They do come in 3 different, whoop, didn't mean to do that. They do come in 3 different sizes. Portrait, which is 5.6 feet between adapters. So that's for modules that are in portrait mode. Landscape, 7.9 feet between adapters, or 2.4 meters. And then ballasted landscape, or large landscape, which goes up to 9.5 feet between adapters. So for the, for the ballasted landscape, you've got a longer run between your panels. Portrait comes in a box of 120, landscape comes in a box of 120, and then ballasted landscape comes in a box of 108. As I had mentioned, they're 4-wire 12 AWG conductor, and that's how they come in the box. If we do have our system configuration tool online now that will actually do a BOM analysis for you to tell you how many boxes you need and what you're going to need for cable. So we'll make sure that we send you a link to that new tool that's online. Commercial gateway, I'd mentioned about the commercial gateway. This is our new commercial gateway 2. The commercial gateway is the brains of the system. So all of the microinverters connect to the commercial gateway. They're run into branch circuits, as we had mentioned before, going into a 3-phase combiner. And then this gateway connects to the 3-phase combiner and receives all of the information from the microinverters by PLC, power line carrier communication. So there's no extra cables. You don't have to hook up any sort of Ethernet cable between microinverters. That's all done through the power lines, and that comes into the gateway. This new gateway 2 is improved over our old commercial gateway 1. The old commercial gateway 1, you could connect up to 249 micros to the gateway. Gateway 2, you can connect up to 276 micros. 276 micros is approximately 150 kW DC. That's not a limit on your project size. If you do have projects that are larger than 150 kW or more than 276 micros, all that means is that you need an additional gateway with line filter. So you're going to build these things modularly out at 150 kW approximate increments. So again, projects that are over 150 kW or 276 microinverters require an additional gateway. And multiple gateways are also required for projects that are connecting to multiple service panels, regardless if they're under 150 kW. So let's say you have a roof that's 100 kW and you have 50 microinverters that are going to service panel 1 and 50 kW that's going to service panel 2. You would need to have 2 gateways in that instance with line filters to prevent crosstalk. So that's how it works. And again, if you use the system configuration tool or you're using our design services or white glove service, we're able to catch those issues for you before you get out onto the rooftop. And we're happy to answer any of those questions. As I mentioned, the gateway is connected to the 3-phase combiner panel. And then on the output side of the gateway, that needs to be connected to internet either by a wireless modem or a hardwire connection to get it out to the portal. Again, we talked about the microinverter's output. This is just a summary of the micros themselves. IQ8-3P has a 480 watt output. Common size is 380 to 640 with a maximum module that you could connect to this at 720 watts. So you could basically do a DC to AC loading of 1.5. IQ8H3P, 384 watts, common matches 320 to 540, maximum 575. They're both 208 volt. Loss of phase is built in, rapid shutdown compliant, auto phase balancing. You know, the strings are a little bit different. You can do branch circuits of 12 for the P, branch circuits of 15 for the H. Same dedicated QD cable, and as I had mentioned, UL 1741 SB compliant, which is also known as IEEE 1547 2018. So if you are doing projects in California, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Hawaii, we've got you covered, and we've got you covered, you know, for the next 4 to 5 years with this compliance in the US. Before I do forget, if you do have projects that are commercial projects and they are looking for EV chargers are the future. Do not forget that Enphase also does sell EV chargers. We have commercial EV chargers and smart EV chargers that can be connected to our Enphase app also. You know, Brad will tell you he's from the EV world. I'm new to the EV world, but I do own an EV. So if you do have projects that do require EV and you're using Enphase for commercial solar, keep us in mind for EV too. We do have products that will get you up and running and keep it all in the Enphase family and be able to monitor with Enphase too. So, you know, as far as taking the next step, again, as I mentioned, commercial@enphaseenergy.com. You can always send your questions in there. I also recommend that each of you visit our commercial installer page at Enphase. You know, get in contact with us and we'll be able to get you up and running. And we do have resources available, and I'll make sure that you know, get the links for our CNI installer landing page, and the data sheet and all this other good stuff is all located on our commercial page. Again, commercial@enphaseenergy.com or commercial sales@enphaseenergy.com. You can always email to get general information too. And then I'd just like to say, you know, this product is real. It's out in the field. You know, we've had 5 megawatts installed in Q4 of last year. We did our beta testing in October of last year. I mean, it's hitting the ground running. There's some really nice examples of what we do have. In the upper right corner, 8M Solar Inc. in Raleigh, North Carolina is one of our beta sites using IQ8-3P. You know, just if any of you are going to be at the NABCEP event in Raleigh, March 18th to the 21st, I will actually be there. Let me know. I'd be happy to maybe get you a tour of that facility. It's only 7 miles away. Great installation. So, you know, if you are in Raleigh, you can see one of these things up close and operational. We also have the Conservancy of Southwest Florida to the right. This was a big solar campus in Naples, Florida, where we installed a whole bunch of these things. They've actually have 3 other buildings with IQ7 Plus, and their dormitory building with the largest installation is using IQ8H3P. We have one of the beta sites in Mexico. This was with Enso Energia in Mexico, where we again used IQ8P3P. Hakai Energy, as we go around clockwise, the one in the middle lower column, Hakai Energy, Vancouver Island. This is one of the tribal government centers in Canada on Vancouver Island that was installed in October of last year. 'And then ending it in the lower left corner, we've got 8M Solar Inc. in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is one of the tribal government centers in Canada on Vancouver Island that was installed in October of last year. And then ending it in the lower right corner, we've got 8M Solar Inc. in Raleigh, North Carolina. DTW Research, actually about 10 miles up the road from where I'm doing this presentation right now. DTW Research in Fernandina Beach, Florida. Another IQ8-3P installation. These are just some examples, and we do have these case studies on our commercial page with more information about each. And I welcome all of you to visit our commercial page and take a look. So basically, you know, these case studies are out there. You know, if you get some of your projects out there, perhaps we can even make a case study out of your project too. With that, I'm going to open this up to questions, and I know that this little question light has been blinking at me, and I just need to find out how to get to it, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. So with that in mind, Alicia, I'll open it up. I'm not exactly sure how to take questions on this thing.
No worries. You can either open the questions tab underneath the chat, or I can just read them to you, whatever's easier.
Okay, let me see if I'm just trying to do that right now. Would you mind reading them to me? I'm sorry.
No, not a problem. So it looks like someone asked, does the BMO financing allow REAP grants?
That's a great question. So REAP grants, okay. As far as I understand it with REAP grants, and everybody would love to get their financing prior to the REAP grant being approved. But from what I understand from about 5 different installers, you cannot purchase equipment until the REAP grant is approved, and you cannot do any installation until the REAP grant is approved. I don't have much more information on that. Would you be able to get financing on a project that has a REAP grant? Yes, as long as it's not, you know, one of the businesses that is not allowed. And, you know, I can tell you the businesses that are not allowed are gaming and medical marijuana. You know, those are 2 examples because they're cash businesses and there's some restrictions with the bank. But there are a few others. If it's a standard nonprofit or a standard business, I don't see why it wouldn't be approved. But again, as far as the function of getting that financing before the REAP grant is approved, I do not believe that that is allowed. So I can find out more information. Any others?
Okay, perfect. Yes, we have a couple more. Does BMO lend nationwide, or is it state by state limited?
I'm sorry, does what?
Does BMO financing lend nationwide, or is it state by state limited?
Nationwide.
Beautiful. Okay, go ahead and move on to the next one. So the next question is, how would you address the Enphase's inability to utilize high DC voltages, 600 to 2000 volts, in the home runs back in the interconnection point, especially in commercial applications? Make the AC design 208 / 240 volts less efficient than a string inverter system, especially in terms of wire sizing and quantities.
Oof, that's quite the question right there.
Yes.
You know, it depends on project by project. You know, obviously, you know, I think it's a tough fit for large solar fields. We're not in that 20 megawatt, you know, plus market or 5 megawatt plus market. You know, where we're really hitting a sweet spot is 500 kilowatt and lower. You know, we're looking at CNI rooftops. We're looking, you know, at 208 volt really to start. And then we will have a 480 volt product coming out. You know, by this time next year, we should have a 480 volt product to talk about. But, you know, I hear what you're saying. You know, if you have a ground mount system that's a utility scale system, you know, you really want to install, you're going to really want to install Enphase in a system like that. It's hard to compete in that sort of a configuration. But, you know, if you're saying 1000 volt DC for 200 kW, 208 volt output building, you know, I think we can compete all day. Don't need to have a step down transformer. You've got rapid shutdown on the roof, which, you know, adds safety. You've got the added benefit of sealed units that, you know, are low maintenance, so you're not making truck rolls to get out there. So it's an interesting question. You know, maybe someday we'll have a utility scale micro, but again, right now we're focused on the 208 volt market, small commercial market. Next year we'll be focused on the larger rooftop market, and you know, maybe after then we'll get into the utility scale. Hopefully that answers.
I think it does. All right, we still have just 3 more questions unless any other pops in, but the next question is, what panel size are recommended to be used on, I'm assuming, the IQ8-3P?
So IQ8-3P has a 480 watt output. Anything over 480 watts could be considered. I think a sweet spot for IQ8-3P would be in that 1.15 to 1.35 DC to AC loading zone. So anywhere from like a 540 watt or 525 watt, let's say at the low end, you know, to 600 watt would be truly a sweet spot for that micro.
Okay, awesome. All right, we have a couple more questions here. Oh, we also have a couple more popping up. So
Sure.
The next question is, when considering a 20K watt and a 50K watt system, what advantages does the IQ8-3P offer over the IQ8A72?
So, you know, first and foremost, you're getting true 3-phase output. So the IQ8A72 is made for single phase 240 volt. You know, so if it's a single phase 240, 20 kW rooftop, yeah, you'd want to use the IQ8A. If it's a 208 volt or 480 volt system, IQ8H3P or P3P would be the answer for that.
Awesome. Okay, and then we have this question going back to the BMO financing. What loan terms does BMO offer?
That's a great question. You know, I don't have that off the top of my head. What I would be happy to do is put you in touch with our BMO people.
Perfect. Okay, and then just 2 final questions, unless any others pop up. Are these eligible for SPA pricing, and do these qualify for domestic tax credit in the US?
Okay, so first question's a little simpler. Yes, we do have SPA pricing and system activation rebate pricing. So we do have SPA pricing that can be available for these systems. We'd be happy to work with your distributor on volume buys. We're happy to work with Krannich on volume buys, actually. And then as far as system activation rebate pricing, based on system size, we do have a cost equalizer called a system activation rebate, which is a per inverter discount paid by Enphase after the project is activated on Enlighten. And again, you know, I could certainly fill you out on, you know, any of us, Brad, myself, Christoph, would be happy to fill you in on the details of those, you know, on a specific project by project, customer by customer and volume basis.
All righty, and then I just saw another question pop up. Is the IQ8A-H3P microinverter models optional included within the SolarGraph software when designing?
Yes, so IQ8H3P and P3P should be in the SolarGraph software. We do have definitions for PV-Syst, for Aurora, Helioscope, and other software too.
Beautiful. All right, that looks like that was the final question. I'll go ahead and leave this open. Bob, if there's any final remarks you wanted to say, just in case any other questions pop up, I'll go ahead and let you know.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we've got a little bit of time. I've got like 5 minutes. You know, I can go a little over, but I'd be happy to answer any questions live. And again, you know, if no questions do pop up, you know, I will be happy to share my contact information, and feel free to get back in touch with us too. So do you want to pause for a couple of minutes, Alicia, and see if there's anybody else that comes up, or how would you like to handle it?
Okay, I can go ahead and just pause for right now, just give people a chance to think of any final questions, and then I'll just kind of pop back in, see if anything pops up, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
All right, sounds good.
Beautiful. So yeah, everybody, if you're going to go ahead and answer your final questions, I'll go ahead and let Bob know, and then we'll get those questions answered, and we'll go ahead and end the webinar. But go ahead and take your time and let us know if there's anything else you want to ask. All right, to Tim, who's asking if we receive a recording after the webinar, yes, you will. So after this webinar is over, I will go ahead and send an email out to everyone who attended and those who unfortunately did miss the webinar, and you guys will be able to see this via the link, and you'll also be able to access it on the Krannich website and the YouTube. Thank you for asking.
All right.
Beautiful. I think that's pretty much it.
Well, fantastic.
Let's
we finished just on time, so this is great. I guess, I'd just like to end by thank you everyone for the opportunity to talk about our commercial product. Again, we're really, really excited about this new product. We really see it as a game changer in the market. Looking forward to working with you and getting your orders in with Krannich. If there are any questions that come up, we work together as a team, and we're happy to, get your projects up and running as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So thank you everyone, and have a great afternoon.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bob, for the presentation. Thank you to Brad, Eric, Andrew, and unfortunately Christoph didn't make it today, but thank you all for being here. As we end the Enphase live commercial webinar draws to a close, we extend our heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you for your active participation. Let's go ahead. Sorry, one second. Thank you. Okay, sorry. Just have a couple more questions popping up, but I'll go ahead and finish this off, and then I might be able to add you back in, Bob.
Okay.
I just want to go ahead and say thank you for your insightful questions and unwavering dedication to advancing solar innovation. Today's discussion has been nothing short of inspiring and reaffirming our shared commitment to harnessing the power of renewable energy for a better tomorrow. Awesome. And then we have just a couple questions. They're kind of the same questions, so I'll kind of combine them together. So
Sure.
It's just, how do we access the commercial training that you mentioned, and where do we sign up for the commercial installer program?
Okay, so the commercial training is, it's on Enphase University. So if you do have an Enlighten account, you should be able to access that training through your Enlighten account. We can also send a link to it, but that's how you would access that training.
Awesome. Okay. I'll go ahead and continue on here. Thank you for asking those. Sorry, they were so last minute. I just wanted to make sure I got those in there before I ended it.
No, I don't mind doing an encore. That's fine.
Yeah, I love it. We are immensely grateful to our esteemed panelists for sharing our expertise and invaluable insights for those into the transformative capabilities of the Enphase IQ8-3P. We also want to wish to express our deepest appreciation to our attendees for your active engagement and enthusiasm throughout today's webinar. Your presence and participation has been instrumental in making this event a resounding success. Like I said, this webinar will be available on the Krannich Solar USA website and YouTube channel as well, and you will be receiving a link to the video after the webinar ends. So thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to continuing this journey together and building a brighter and more sustainable future for generations to come. Bob, did you have any final notes or anything else to add?
I think I've said everything I need to say. I'm just looking forward to everybody installing 3P micros out there in the field. And, as I said before, Enphase has your back. We're looking forward to working with all of you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bob. And thank you again, Enphase team, for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and end this webinar, but thank you all for joining, and hope you all have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye now.
Bye.